Hey, how can I look younger?
There are several ways you can achieve a more youthful appearance. A good routine with moisturizing, sunscreen use, and retinoids, updating your hairstyle, wearing clothes that fit well, and even grooming your eyebrows. Stay hydrated, eat a balanced diet rich in antioxidants, and get enough sleep.
These are useful ideas that rely on material methods to address aging in the short term. But for those who like to own rather than rent, what if I told you there's a much deeper, more permanent way to address aging, and it was all taught by the greatest man who ever lived? We actually have one woman to thank for being the first person to explain in an understandable way what had been sitting in Scripture for thousands of years. Mary Baker Eddy, even as a young girl, seemed to understand the principles behind spiritual law.
We're in Bow, New Hampshire. Mary, at 13 years old, is sitting with her classmates in a philosophy class at school. At one point, her teacher asks the students, if you were to take an orange, throw away the peel, squeeze out the juice, destroy the seeds and the pulp, what would you have left? Many said they didn't know. Some said nothing would remain, and some just kept silent. But after all the students gave their best responses, little Mary replied, there would be left the thought of the orange.
Now, this took place in 1834, and this was at a time when what we now know about metaphysics and the power of the mind wasn't even really discovered yet. 32 years later, she discovered divine science, or the science of Christ, sometimes called Christian Science, which illumined what Jesus spent his healing career demonstrating, that our thoughts determine our physical world, and that we incapacitate decrepitude, i.e. aging, sickness, decay, by incapacitating the thought that produces decrepitude. Decrepit thoughts leads to decrepit appearance. Those decrepit thoughts didn't come from God. They came from the world, and you believed them. I mean, we all believe them at times, but divine metaphysics reveals they're like ice melting when the sun shows up, exposing good as the only true reality. Modern theologians and philosophers don't think to equate this metaphysical discovery of God's law of good with Jesus. He could heal not because he was some divine magician, but because his thought was completely unconscious of matter. Instead of seeing the decaying body or mind, he saw the perfect man. And that divine view is what healed them. Jesus gave us the power to do the same.
Hey, can I get a six-pack quickly?
Do you realize how good it is for your body, for you to know that at your deepest reality, you're not your body? That you're an ageless spiritual idea? We are not isolated bodies. We are collectively divinely created to seek good. And science even backs that up.
When people say if you focus on the good, your brain rewires itself to find more good, that's not just a saying. There's actual neuroscience behind it.
It's called neuroplasticity. What you focus on becomes your actual physical reality. So since God's law of good is actually backed by science, that makes Jesus the greatest scientist to ever live. In other words, it's the spirit that gives us youth and vitality, not matter. Now, to achieve this mode of spiritual thought, you don't have to be sitting in church or performing some complicated ritual or religious seance. Jesus didn't do any of that. He didn't heal anyone with any material procedures. He didn't require us to fast, to get baptized, to act out some elaborate ceremony. It was just about walking around with the right divine view of ourselves. What you think, you become. If you think you're 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, you become so. If you think you're weak, sick, incapable, then you become that. Obviously, don't stop eating well and taking care of yourself the best way you see fit, but the less you focus on your body and your age, and the more you focus on your divine identity, the more healthful and youthful you become. And people will notice, and you'll be like, why is everybody suddenly noticing me? And remember, God doesn't measure time by a ticking clock. He measures it based on how much we're focused on the enduring, the good, and the true.